So this video starts off with a really sad story. My Volkswagen Euro van, camper pop top, while in the shop for a simple tune-up, burned to the ground. Rising from the ashes is my new Sprinter van. And my new Sprinter van is an excellent van with one major flaw. It's not set up for camping. So I went through a whole process of figuring out what I was going to do, and I've decided not to pay somebody $50,000 or $100,000 to convert my van, but to do it myself. And I'm starting off with the Adventure Wagon RUV kit. And the question that this video is going to take on is, can somebody with mediocre or, actually less than mediocre mechanical and carpentry skills actually install this kit and get professional results? Let's find out. There's a great video on Adventure Wagon's site that shows you how to remove the headliner. That's the most complex part of removing all of the interior panels. I didn't find any help with how to remove the rest of the panels, but it's pretty easy. They pop off. I did break a few plastic snaps along the way, but I don't think they'll be used again. And I also removed some panels that may not have been necessary. The tools used were some plastic and metal auto upholstery pry tools that were inexpensive to buy at Harbor Freight. As you can see, I'm fully committed. The wall panels are out, the seats have been removed, and the electrical is hanging down. The van is just a shell. Now let's install the fan system. The fan installation is the only part of this conversion that isn't easily reversible. Cutting two 14-inch square holes in the roof of your Sprinter van has consequences, so you want to ensure that you place them correctly. I found the directions for the front fan to be clear, but the back fan placement was a little ambiguous. Not wanting to make an error, I called Adventure Wagon's support specialist and had him walk me through the placement. When you get the fan placements right, they make sense because they fit in really the only two flat spots on the roof. That said, I would have liked to have better documentation and placement images to be absolutely confident before I made the roof cuts. Be forewarned, this is not the only step that had weak installation instructions. The next step is installing the wiring harness. I thought these instructions were pretty good. Think through any custom wiring you want to add. For example, I ran speaker wires to the back of my van. One important tip, take note of where your wire drop locations are. At a future step, I wasn't paying attention to this, installed the ceiling braces and had to cut and splice my ceiling fan wire to get it in the exact right location. The next step was installing the hush mat. The directions are stated, cover about 50% of your van interior. This was vague, but we figured it out, and we ended up actually covering about 70% of the van interior. Next is the installation of the vertical wall braces. This is where I made my biggest mistake. The instructions have probably the best written documentation, but have one important omission. The most forward section of RUV track is placed along the center line of van. Now take note, there are two different sections of RUV track supplied. One has two raised flanges and the other one has only one raised flange. The section with two raised flanges is installed on the driver's side with the base, not the raised flange, fitting snugly against the center line of the van. I didn't notice that there were two different parts and installed them in the wrong place. The mistake was fixable, but cost me a few hours of work, and Adventure Wagon had to ship me a new part. After installing the vertical braces, I found the horizontal and ceiling RUV track installation relatively easy. Some of the videos on this installation were dated and they were demonstrating with parts that our older designs don't look like the parts I was holding, but that was easy enough to figure out. The next step is to add the insulation, which took longer than expected. We completed it in 6 hours. The final step is installing the upholstered panels. There are no directions for this step, so I had to call Adventure Wagon to have them walk me through the process. One comment, I bought the optional complete upholstered headliner, and in hindsight, this was a bad deal. You give them a $300 deposit, which is refundable when you ship back your old headliner. The problem was it cost me almost $300 to actually ship my headliner to Adventure Wagon. So here are some pictures of the completed project. It took me 8 days, with my wife helping me for about half of that time. A lot of time was spent reviewing installation videos and trying to figure out the documentation. So my final review is broken into 4 sections. First is quality. Quality gets 5 stars. Adventure Wagon uses the highest quality materials, and there is really nothing cheap about this kit. Second is design. Design gets 4 stars. The design is excellent. The aesthetic has this premium professional feel to it, but it is a bit of a utilitarian look, and it's not going to appeal to everybody. And there are a couple of sections of the paneling that could use some very minor refinement for a more perfect fit. Next is service. My experience with Adventure Wagon service was 5 stars. I found them to be prompt, available, and helpful. I even got help in the evening when one of their support folks was at home. And finally, installation instructions. No surprise, I gave it 2 stars. Better instructions will allow the DIYer faster install times and fewer mistakes. This is an area where Adventure Wagon needs to invest. That said, I have very mediocre carpentry skills and very mediocre mechanical skills, and I was able to successfully install the kit and get professional results. All in all, I highly recommend the Adventure Wagon Interior Conversion Kit. And if you've installed the Adventure Wagon kit, I'd be interested in your installation experience. Add your comments below. Thank you.